Why do you sleep in such a manner when our bed is big enough for 4 people? Is this why you have been avoiding sharing the room with me? Ajiun trembled. A secret finally revealed. I didn't want you to see me like this, she admitted. In my village, people called me a witch because of how I sleep. One night, in a moment of desperation, Ajiun decided to try one last thing. She tied her legs and hands once more and laid flat on her chest, forcing herself to stay in that position. But as sleep began to take over, something strange and inexplicable occurred. Her body started to tremble, and an eerie sensation spread through her limbs. It was as if an unseen force was compelling her to move, to return to her natural sleeping posture. Unable to fight it any longer, Ajiun untied herself and allowed her body to shift back to its familiar position. She felt a mix of relief and sorrow, accepting that this was who she was, no matter how hard she tried to change. The strange event left her more confused than ever, making her question if there was something truly different about her, something beyond her control. Asake and Adio, watching their daughter struggle, were heartbroken. They tried to console her, to offer their support and love, but the pain and isolation Ajiun felt were beyond their reach. The villagers' whispers grew louder, and the label of which seemed more permanent than ever. Ajiun's nights were filled with restless dreams, and her days with a growing sense of hopelessness. She felt trapped in a cycle she couldn't break, surrounded by a world that refused to understand or accept her. The pain of Ojo's rejection and the villagers' scorn weighed heavily on her, pushing her further into despair. Ajiun couldn't bear the shame and mockery in her village any longer. The whispers and taunts had become too much for her to handle. One day, she made a difficult decision. She would leave her village and find a new place to call home. When she told her parents about her decision, they were heartbroken but understood her need to escape the cruelty she faced. They supported her wholeheartedly, giving her money to ensure she could take care of herself in the new place. With a heavy heart but hopeful spirits, Ajiun set out on her journey. She traveled to a nearby village called Tiife, which was not too far from her own. Upon arriving, she was immediately struck by how kind and welcoming the villagers were. It was a stark contrast to the coldness and suspicion she had left behind. The people of Tiife were known for their warmth and generosity. They were built on a foundation of love and kindness, and it showed in their actions. As a newcomer, Ajiun was showered with hospitality. Villagers brought her food, offered her a free place to stay, and made it clear that she should never hesitate to ask for help if she needed anything. Ajiun was both touched and weary. She had never experienced such kindness before, and it made her suspicious. Could these people be pretending? Did they have some hidden motive behind their good deeds? Despite her doubt, she couldn't deny the genuine warmth in their smiles and the sincerity in their voices. The villagers of Tiife welcomed her with open arms. They invited her to community gatherings, shared their stories, and made her feel like she belonged. Ajiun found herself slowly letting her guard down, allowing herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, She had finally found a place where she could be accepted for who she was. Despite her initial skepticism, Ajiun began to see that the people of Tiife had no ulterior motive. Their kindness was genuine and their love for one another was real. She realized that she had stumbled upon a rare and precious community where people truly cared for each other. As she settled into her new life, Ajiun felt a sense of peace that she had never known before. The villagers' acceptance and love filled a void in her heart, and she began to heal from the pain of her past. For the first time, she felt like she could breathe freely, without the weight of judgment and scorn pressing down on her. Ajiun's days in Tiife were filled with simple joys and newfound friendships. She marveled at the beauty of the village, with its lush greenery and vibrant flowers. She enjoyed the warmth of the sun on her skin and the cool breeze that whispered through the trees. The villagers taught her new skills, shared their traditions, and made her feel like she was part of something bigger than herself. In Tiife, Ajiun found the sense of belonging she had always longed for. She was no longer the outcast, the girl with the strange sleeping posture. Here, she was just Ajiun, a young woman with a kind heart and a resilient spirit. And for the first time in her life, she felt truly at home. The people of Tiife had not always been as kind and loving as they were when Ajiun arrived. Their transformation was born from a hard lesson learned decades ago, one that had left a deep and lasting impact on the entire village. Many years before, the village was known as Ibaka, a place where people were wary of outsiders and quick to judge. But one fateful day, a stranger arrived at their gates. He was in a terrible state. His clothes were tattered, his hair was matted, and his body was covered in sores. He looked needy and helpless, pleading for shelter and assistance. The villagers were immediately suspicious of him. They whispered among themselves, casting weary glances at the stranger. Instead of offering help, they recoiled in fear and disgust. They believed his strange and terrible appearance was a bad omen, that he might be a misfortune to their village. In their fear and ignorance, they turned him away, forcing him to leave the village without any aid. Not long after the stranger had been chased away, calamities began to fall upon Ibaka. It started with a strange illness that spread rapidly, claiming the lives of many villagers. Then crops began to fail, leading to widespread hunger. Death tolls rose, and the once thriving village was gripped by despair and suffering. The spiritualists in the village tried every known ritual and offering to appease the gods, but nothing seemed to work. Each attempt only seemed to worsen their plight. For 7 long years, the village endured unimaginable hardships. They were plagued by diseases that had no cure, and the toll of death seemed unending. The people of Ibaka were on the brink of losing all hope when a mysterious spiritualist arrived from a distant village. He had heard of their suffering and had come to offer his assistance. This spiritualist, unlike the others, possessed a unique gift of insight. He spent days meditating and connecting with the spirits before revealing the shocking truth to the villagers. He told them that the roots of their suffering lay in their past actions. They had rejected and mistreated an innocent man who had come to them for help. That man, in his dying moment, had placed a curse upon the village, condemning them to live in calamity and turmoil. The villagers were struck with horror and regret. They realized their grave mistake and terrible consequences of their actions. The spiritualists advised them that to lift the curse, they needed to make amends and appease the spirit of the wronged stranger. They had to perform a series of complex rituals, offering sincere apologies and gifts to the spirits, and promising to change their ways. With heavy hearts, the villagers gathered and followed the spiritualist instructions. They performed the rituals with utmost sincerity, pleading for forgiveness and vowing to transform their village. They built a memorial for the stranger they had wronged and held a ceremony to honor his spirit. Miraculously, after the rituals were completed, peace began to return to the village. The illnesses subsided, crops started to grow again, and the villagers felt a sense of relief they had not experienced in years. It was as if a heavy weight had been lifted from their hearts. From that day forward, the people of Ibaka made a collective decision to never repeat the mistakes of their past. They vowed to treat every stranger and visitor with kindness and compassion, no matter how they looked or where they came from. They wanted to ensure that no one else would ever suffer as the stranger had. To symbolize their transformation, they changed the name of their village from Ibaka to Tiife, which means with love in their language. They wanted their village's new name to reflect their commitment to love and kindness. The people of Tiife embraced their new values wholeheartedly, and their village became known far and wide for its warmth and hospitality. Ajiun had unknowingly stumbled upon a village that had learned the true meaning of compassion through their own painful history. The kindness she received in Tiife was genuine, born from a hard-earned lesson that had reshaped the hearts and mind of its people. In Tiife, Ajiun began to blossom in ways she had never imagined. She made new friends who accepted her wholeheartedly, and for the first time in her life, she felt genuinely loved and appreciated. The warmth and kindness of the village made her feel more human and less like the outcast she had been in her previous village. She felt glad she had left her old home behind. Ajiun's beauty and grace did not go unnoticed by the men of Tiife. Many admired her from afar, enchanted by her elegance and gentle demeanor. Almost every eligible bachelor in the village wanted to win her heart. They brought her gifts ranging from handcrafted jewelry to baskets of the finest fruits and grains. However, Ajiun refused to accept any of these tokens of affection. Her past heartbreak from Ojo had left her weary and scared. She feared that if she allowed herself to fall in love again, she might end up with a broken heart just as she had before. More importantly, Ajiun was terrified that her secret would be discovered. She worried that if anyone in Tiife learned about her strange sleeping posture, the love and attention she was receiving would vanish. The memories of the ridicule and shame she had endured in her own village still haunted her, torturing her with the fear of being outcast once more. Despite these fears, Ajiun continued to live peacefully in Tiife. She maintained her distance from romantic entanglements, focusing instead on enjoying the newfound sense of belonging that the village offered. She participated in village activities, helped her neighbors, and slowly built a new life for herself. One fateful day, as she was walking through the bustling village market, something unexpected happened. The prince of Tiife, Prince Adejare, was passing through the market on his way out of the village. His eyes fell upon Ajiun, and he was immediately captivated by her presence. There was something special and different about her that he couldn't quite place, but he stirred something deep within his heart. Prince Adejare found himself unable to look away from Ajiun. Her beauty was mesmerizing, but it was more than that. There was a certain grace and strength in her demeanor that intrigued him. As he continued on his way, he couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to know more about this mysterious woman who had so suddenly captured his heart. Ajiun, unaware of the prince's gaze, continued her stroll through the market, oblivious of the impact she had just made on Prince Adejare. She was focused on enjoying the simple pleasures of the market, feeling a sense of peace she had rarely known. Prince Adejare, on the other hand, could not forget her. He returned to the palace with his mind full of thoughts of Ajiun. He felt a longing to see her again, to speak with her and understand the depths of the connection he felt. The prince decided that he must find out who she was and where she came from. Little did he know his pursuits of Ajiun would set off a chain of events that would change both their lives forever. Prince Adejare was the only son of the king and queen of Tiife. His father, the king, was growing old and had been urging Adejare to marry and secure the lineage. The royal family needed a future queen, and the pressure on Adejare was immense. Despite the constant nudging from his parents, Adejare had not found anyone he truly loved. All the girls in the village did everything in their power to catch his eye, but he ignored their advances, finding no genuine connection with any of them. Ever since the day he met Ajiun in the market, Prince Adejare could not stop thinking about her. Her image lingered in his mind, and he felt an inexplicable pull towards her. Determined to learn more about the mysterious woman, he sent his guards to find out who she was. It was then revealed to him that Ajiun was a stranger who had only recently come to their village. Intrigued and eager to meet her, Adejare arranged for an introduction. When they finally met, Ajiun felt an instant connection with the prince. It was the first time she had felt such emotions since her heartbreak with Ojo. Prince Adejare was charming and kind, and Ajiun's heart fluttered with newfound love. As the relationship blossomed, Adejare would often ask Ajiun out on romantic walks through the village under the starlit sky. They shared laughter, dreams, and whispered secrets. He brought her gifts, wrote her poems, and cherished every moment they spent together. Ajiun, in turn, found herself falling deeply in love with him. The prince's gentle nature and genuine affection melted her fear and filled her with joy. The other girls in the village were green with envy. They had all hopes to win the prince's heart, and seeing him so smitten with Ajiun made their hearts ache with jealousy. The men of the village too were envious. They had admired Ajiun from afar, and now the prince had claimed her heart. When Prince Adejare introduced Ajiun to his parents, the king and queen welcomed her with open arms. They could see the love in their son's eyes and knew he had made the right choice. Ajiun was embraced by the royal family, and she felt a sense of belonging she had never known before. Despite her joy, Ajiun was tormented by a deep-seated fear. She dreaded the day when the prince would discover her unusual sleeping posture. She kept her secret to herself, afraid that revealing it would shatter her newfound happiness. As their love deepened, Adejare and Ajiun began planning their wedding. The village buzzed with excitement as preparations for the grand event unfolded. The day of their wedding was nothing short of magnificent. The entire village turned out to celebrate, and Ajiun's parents traveled from their home to grace the occasion. Seeing their daughter marry into the royal family filled their hearts with pride and joy. The wedding was a grand affair filled with music, dance, and vibrant colors. Ajiun looked stunning in her bridal attire, and Prince Adejare stood by her side, beaming with happiness. Ajiun's fear momentarily faded away, replaced by the overwhelming love she felt for her new husband. Her parents' joy were palpable. They had watched their daughter suffer for so long, and now, seeing her find love and acceptance brought tears of happiness to their eyes. Ajiun felt a mixture of elation and apprehension. She had finally found love, but the shadow of her secret loomed large. Nonetheless, she resolved to cherish each moment with Adejare, hoping that their love would be strong enough to withstand any challenge that came their way. On their wedding night, Ajiun was filled with a mix of joy and dread. She had married the man she loved, but now she faced the terrifying prospect of sharing a room with him. Desperate to avoid the inevitable, she came up with excuses to sleep elsewhere in the palace. The palace was vast, with numerous rooms, and the prince, eager to make his new bride comfortable, allowed her to sleep wherever she wished. For the first 5 months of their marriage, Ajiun and Prince Adejare slept apart. They would share intimate moments and fulfill their conjugal duties, but afterward, Ajiun would retreat to a separate room. Prince Adejare was puzzled by his wife's reluctance to share a bed, but he loved her deeply and respected her wishes. One day, Ajiun fell ill, and the palace herbalist was summoned to check on her. After a thorough examination, the herbalist revealed the joyous news. Ajiun was 2 months pregnant. The prince was ecstatic. The thought of becoming a father filled him with immense happiness. However, this news also strengthened his resolve to change their sleeping arrangements. He wanted to be close to his wife and their unborn child. That night, as Ajiun prepared to retreat to another room, Adejare gently took her hand. "Ajiun, my love, you must stay with me tonight," he said firmly, but lovingly. "I want to be close to you and our baby." But Ajiun started to protest, her heart pounding with fear. "No more excuses," the priest interrupted softly. "From now on, we sleep together. I need to feel our baby around us." Ajiun's worry grew as night approached. She couldn't sleep, her mind racing with fear of what the prince might think if he saw her in her unusual posture. As the night wore on, she tried to leave the room, but Adejare had anticipated this. He had locked the door and hidden the key. Desperate, she sat on the edge of the bed, praying for the night to pass quickly. But exhaustion overcame her, and she drifted into a deep sleep, settling into her usual posture with her legs raised and leaning against the wall. In the middle of the night, Prince Adejare woke up to ease himself. As he turned to look at his beloved wife, he was shocked to see her sleeping in such an awkward manner. He had never seen anything like it. Concerned but calm, he decided not to wake her. Instead, he watched her for a while, hoping she would change position. But she didn't. Eventually, he too fell asleep. When morning broke, the prince gently woke Ajiun. "Ajiun, we need to talk," he said softly but seriously. Why do you sleep in such a manner when our bed is big enough for 4 people? Is this why you have been avoiding sharing the room with me? Ajiun trembled, her secret finally revealed. With tears in her eyes, she began to narrate her story. I didn't want you to see me like this, she admitted. In my village, people called me a witch because of how I sleep. I sought help from many places, but nothing worked. I was mocked, heartbroken, and dejected. When I came to Tiife, I found solace here, but I feared you would reject me if you saw how I sleep. Prince Adejare listened attentively, troubled by her past, but full of compassion. How comfortable is this posture for you? He asked gently. It's the only way I can sleep peacefully, she confessed. The prince took her hands in his, looking deeply into her eyes. Ajiun, you are not a witch. You are my wife, and I love you. We will find a solution together. Ajiun was taken aback by his response. She had expected rejection and ridicule, but instead, she found understanding and support. For the first time, she felt truly accepted for who she was. As the days passed, Prince Adejare grew more worried about Ajiun's unusual sleeping posture. He loved her dearly and deeply and was determined to find a solution. Seeking help, he called upon a renowned spiritualist who shed light on the situation. The spiritualist, after a thorough consultation, revealed startling information. There is no cause for alarm, he began. Ajiun is a special child, destined for greatness and specifically chosen to be your wife, Prince Adejare. The reason she sleeps in that peculiar posture is because malevolent forces, having foreseen her future, cast a spell upon her to prevent her from fulfilling her destiny. They knew she would marry a prince and achieve great things in life. To thwart this, they made her sleep abnormally, ensuring she would be mocked and labeled a witch so that no man would marry her. The spell was designed to be broken only when she became pregnant. These forces believed that if no man would marry a witch, she would never conceive. The prince listened intently, absorbing every word. The spiritualist continued. All that she endured in her village was part of her journey to find Tiife and meet her destined husband. The spell will break as her pregnancy progresses. When her belly begins to grow, her body will adjust naturally, and she will sleep like everyone else. Prince Adejare felt a wave of relief and hope. He shared the spiritualist revelation with Ajiun, who was both astonished and comforted by the explanation. As the months passed and Ajiun's pregnancy advanced, the prophecy began to unfold. At 5 months pregnant, with her stomach growing larger, Ajiun's body adjusted and she began to sleep in a normal position. The spell was broken. Ajiun was overwhelmed with gratitude for her husband's unwavering support and love. She immediately sent word to her parents, sharing the miraculous news. Her parents, filled with joy, traveled to Tiife to celebrate with their daughter and son-in-law. No longer burdened by mockery or shame, Ajiun continued to sleep peacefully. When the time came, she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The entire village of Tiife celebrated the birth of the prince's heir, and Ajiun's parents rejoiced in the miraculous turn of events. Prince Adejare and Ajiun, now free from the past shadows, embraced their future with hope and happiness. The village of Tiife, having witnessed the power of love and destiny, continue to live by their principles of kindness and acceptance, ensuring that their community remained a haven of peace and goodwill. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you do, kindly like this video, drop a comment, share this video, and also subscribe for more interesting stories than these. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.